Hi guys, this is Arvind here from MindMajix, and today I welcome you all to this session on Salesforce Admin Interview questions. So the whole idea behind this interview questions is, suppose if you have an interview in few hours or maybe in a few days. So what you can do is, just to quickly recollect whatever you have studied. So that's where you can, utilize this video for revision purposes. So now this video is meant for both the guys, one who is fresher as well as few experienced folks. So if you try to answer these questions, whatever we will cover in this video, so there are very high chances that you will clear this interview. Okay. And for the experienced guys, apart from these questions, like if you have an experience of maybe 2 to 3 years, so the questions apart from this, you will have questions such as, scenario based questions based on the organization that you worked for previously. Okay. So with the help of, both these types of questions, there are very high chances that you will clear the interviews. Okay. So before moving ahead, I want you guys to subscribe to MindMajix YouTube channel and also hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update from us. Okay. So without any further delay, let's get started. Okay. So the first and foremost question is, what is cloud computing? Okay. So cloud computing is nothing but, computing over the internet. So storing and accessing the data over the internet is achieved using cloud computing. Okay. So what used to happen previously, there were physical servers and there was, even one server room wherein all the servers were placed physically. And there used to be one guy who used to manage all these servers. Okay. So that was, a very tedious task, and it was complicated as well. And it was time consuming as well. Okay. So cloud computing has replaced that entire scenario. And now what you have to do is you just have to, log in into cloud, and, you can use whatever services that you want, such as storage, compute, and rest of the things. Okay. And now the main advantage of cloud computing is that you have to pay for only what you consume. Okay. So this is the biggest highlight, or you can say the advantage that one gets using cloud computing. Okay. You have understood this question, what is cloud computing? And there are many service providers of cloud, such as Amazon, AWS is there. Then you have GCP, which is Google Cloud Platform. Then you have one from Microsoft, which is called Azure, and so on. Okay. So now let us move to the next question. So what are the service models in cloud computing? Okay. So there are 4 types of service models in cloud computing. The first one being infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. So to give you an example of this is, you say servers and storage. These are all the infrastructure as a service models. Okay. Then you have a platform as a service model, which is PaaS. And the examples of such PaaS is execution runtime, database, web server, development tools, and so on. Okay. Then you also have software as a service, or SaaS. So to give you an example, there's CRM, email, games, applications, and so on. Okay. And then you also have network as a service, or NaaS. Okay. So these are the service models that are available in cloud computing. Okay. So now let us just move on to the next question. So the next question is, what is CRM? Okay. So CRM is nothing but customer relationship management. And this is a model for managing companies' interactions with current and future customers. Okay. It manages the organization interactions such as phone calls, emails, meetings, and social media with customers, sales, marketing, and support. Okay. And you can also give an example of CRM, such as there are various CRM softwares that are available in the market, and we will discuss it in the next question. So now let us move to the next question. Okay. So the next question is, what are some CRM providers that are currently available in the market? Okay. So there are various softwares apart from Salesforce that provide these CRM services, such as, Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Then you have Oracle CRM, SAP CRM, Sage CRM, NetSuite CRM, Oracle CRM on demand, Sugar CRM, and so on. Okay. So the next question is, what is Salesforce? Okay. So Salesforce was officially launched in the year 1999, and it was founded by the person called Mark Benioff. Okay. So Salesforce is the undisputed leader in the CRM space. Okay. And it is based on cloud computing technology. So it is available in cloud, and you do not need any software or hardware to manage the CRM. Okay. You can develop your own application, or if you need any application on demand, you can buy it from the app exchange. Okay. So there's also this website called force.com, which is a platform to reduce development cost and it can deliver application in very short time. Okay, so Salesforce, by following the cloud computing approach, it provides software as a service as well as platform as a service. Okay, so now you must be wondering, what is the popularity of Salesforce? Okay, so the reason behind the popularity of Salesforce was cloud computing. So Salesforce wasn't just about a better product at the fraction of the cost. It was about replacing the lengthy installation processes and moving everything to the internet, or you can say online. Okay, so they changed the business model. So now you no more have long-term contracts or expensive license deals. So anyone can use Salesforce only with a simple $50 monthly subscription fee. It was that easy and that affordable. Okay, so this was the reason behind the popularity of Salesforce. Okay, so the next question is, what are the different types of Salesforce URLs? Okay, so as you can see on the screen, these are the various types of Salesforce URLs. Okay, the first one being developer.salesforce.com. Okay, so this link helps you sign up to the account. Like if you have to create a developer account on Salesforce, you can do it using this link, developer.salesforce.com. Okay, so then for production, you can use this URL called login.salesforce.com. Okay, and for Sandbox, you can use the URL called test.salesforce.com. Okay, so what is production, what is Sandbox? We will discuss it in the later part of this session. Okay, so the next question is, what is production? Okay, so production is a platform wherein the application is deployed live on the servers, okay, or on the cloud. So the production, it has the application which is currently functioning. Like users are using your application and you cannot do any changes in the code when the application is in production. Okay, and the next question is, what is Sandbox? Okay, so as discussed earlier, the production is the environment wherein your application is live to the users. So users are interacting with your app. That environment is called production. Okay, and suppose if you have to make changes into the application code for your application, so what you do is you first do it in the Sandbox. Okay, in Sandbox you make code changes whatever you want, you test those changes, you check if everything is working fine. Okay, and then you update the code, and after that it goes to the production. Okay, so that's wherein Sandbox comes into the picture. Okay, so to create the Sandbox in production, we can find one link called Sandboxes, and by clicking on that link we can create the Sandbox by choosing the type of Sandbox. Okay, so we will discuss the types of Sandbox in the later part of this session. Okay, and if you want to follow the steps to create the Sandbox, then you can click on setup, then you can click on deployment, then choose Sandbox, and then choose new. Okay, to list the Sandboxes in salesforce.com, what you can do is you can click on setup, and then you can click on Sandboxes. Okay, and there's one point that you should remember here. So Sandboxes that are not used for at least like 180 days, those Sandbox get deleted automatically. So the next important question is, what are the types of Sandboxes? So this is a very important question as far as interviews are concerned. So as you can see on the screen, these are the various types of Sandboxes. The first one being developer sandbox, then you have developer pro sandbox, then you have partial data sandbox, and you have full copy sandbox. Okay, so and the main point that you must remember here is the refresh interval and the storage limit. Okay, for developer sandbox, the refresh interval is 1 day and the storage limit is 200 MB. Okay, for the developer pro, the refresh interval is 1 day and the storage is 1 GB. Okay, and then you have partial copy sandbox, or the partial data sandbox. For it, the refresh interval is 5 days and the storage is 5 GB. Okay, and as far as full sandbox is concerned, the refresh interval is 29 days and the storage limit is same as the production org. Okay, after that, you also have this information such as what it copies. Okay, and then you have the Sandbox template. So it is very likely that you will be asked this question in the interviews. Okay, so the next question is, what is an app in Salesforce? So an app is a group of tabs that work together as a unit to provide a certain functionality. And you can work with existing apps, or you can also build your own apps, which are called custom apps, by grouping standards and using custom tabs. Okay. And the steps to create an app in Salesforce is you have to click on setup, build, create, app, and new. Okay. So the next question is, what is an object in Salesforce? So custom objects are database tables that allow you to store specific data to your organization. Once you have created a custom object, you can create a custom tab, and then you can create, custom related lists, reports, dashboards for the users to interact with the custom object data. Okay. And the step to create an object in Salesforce is you have to click on setup, build, create object, and new. Okay. So these are the steps that you can follow to create an object in Salesforce. Yeah. So let's just move on to the next question. So the next question is, what is a profile? Okay. So profile contains set of permissions and access settings that control what users can do with in the organization. Okay. So, profile, it's a way of, restricting the user to certain actions. So the next question is, what is a user in Salesforce? So the people who have authenticated username and password to log in into Salesforce successfully. A user is someone who has, the credentials to, with the help of which he can log in into Salesforce. Okay. So that person is called a user, as simple as that. Okay. So the next question is, what is role? A role controls the level of visibility that users have to an organization data. Okay. So if you want to, restrict access to data for the users, so you can do it with the help of roles. You can assign certain roles to certain users with the help of which, you can restrict the access to data. Yes. So let's just move on to the next question. What are permission sets? A set of permissions is given to the users without changing the profile. So you need not change the profile of the user, to assign him a set of permissions. Okay. So that's the whole idea behind the permission sets. Okay. So let's just move on to the next question. What is OWD? So OWDs are baseline record level security for the objects that are present in the organizations. So, with the help of OWDs, you can, restrict your access to data from certain users. Okay. So that is the whole idea behind OWD. Okay. So the next question is, what is sharing rules? So with the help of sharing rules, what you can do is you can override the OWD permissions. Okay. So there are basically two types of sharing rules. The first one being based on record owner, and the second one is based on criteria. Okay. So the next question is, what is the role of hierarchy? So the role hierarchy states that a person who is higher in the hierarchy can see the records of the person who is lower in the hierarchy. So depending upon, the role that has been assigned to the users, so it is obvious that a person who is at the top level in the hierarchy, he can see the records of the person who is lower in the hierarchy. So the next question is, can you tell the difference between profile and roles? Okay. So profiles are used for object level access settings, and roles are used for the record level access settings. So this is the key difference between profile and a role. Okay. So you can mention this in the interviews, and you can give the example such as, in an organizations, there are various profiles such as, you have a support team, you have a marketing team, then you have sales team, and you have a team of, system admins. So these are the various profiles in an organizations. And as far as roles are concerned, if you talk about the hierarchy, so in a company, there's a VP of sales, like vice president of sales, and under him there are various sales managers such as, here in this example, sales managers are present as per the geographical region. So like sales manager in the western part, then you have sales manager in the central part, and then you have the sales manager in the eastern part. Okay. So this example you can give if you are asked such questions. So let's just move on to the next question. What is Salesforce1? Okay. So Salesforce1 is one of the product provided by salesforce.com. So this is nothing but, a mobile application, for mobile platforms. So as far as Android devices are concerned and iOS devices are concerned, so if you want to use Salesforce on your mobile devices, then you can use this Salesforce1. So the next question is, what is force.com? So in force.com, developers can develop applications using Apex and Visual Force languages. Okay, as simple as that. And the next question is, what is work.com? So these are, very simple questions, but you must know because these questions can be asked in interviews. So work.com is the social performance management platform, which is mainly used by the managers and employees to improve their work performance. Okay. So if you want to keep a track of the work that is done by the managers and employees, like you have to check their productivity, like whether they are achieving their, the targets and all, like how efficiently they are doing their work. So for that purpose, you can use this URL called work.com. Okay. So the next question is, what is data.com? Okay. So data.com is an online business directory. Here, every company and business professionals, they exchange their business information through business cards. So say, for example, it's similar to like, let me give an example here. So I belong to a certain company and, I have to get in contact with someone, like with some person from another company, so that's wherein, I can find the details of such persons in data.com, you know, and this is done with the help of business cards. So these are very simple questions, but you must know them. The next question is, what is desk.com? Okay, so desk.com is an online help desk system. Okay, so with the help of desk.com, you can interact with customers and solve their issues. Okay, so many times it happens that, like, be it any organization or any company, there are always the customers who have, some problem with your service or, using your product. So they require someone from the organization to resolve their queries. So the platform for resolving queries is called desk.com. Okay, so the next question is, what is do.com? So, it is a cloud-based task management system for different businesses and small groups. As simple as that. And the next question is, what is site.com? Okay, so if you talk about site.com, it is nothing but an app builder portal. Okay, a portal wherein you can build your own apps, or you can also call them, custom apps. Okay, so these are some of the simple and one-liner questions that you must know. Okay, so the next question is, what is Salesforce Ideas? So Salesforce Ideas is based on Dell IdeaStorm. It is nothing but a suggestion management systems where users or customers can share their own ideas. Okay, so the next question is, what is App Exchange? Okay, so App Exchange is an online application marketplace like the App Store or the Google Play Store. Okay, so if you're using an Android device, you must be knowing about Play Store. Okay, so from Play Store, you can download and update your various applications that you use in your mobile phones. Okay, so similarly, in App Exchange, there are nearly 3,000 applications that are available for use. Okay, so the next question is, how many relationships are included in SFDC and what are they? Okay, so basically there are 5 types of relationships in SFDC, and they are as follows. Like, as you can see on the screen, first you have lookup relationship, then you have master detail, next you have hierarchy, and then there's also external, and you also have many to many relationship. So the next question is, what is the difference between lookup and master detail relationship? Okay, so as far as the difference is concerned, in interviews, at least you should mention 4 to 5 points, which differentiate lookup and master detail relationship. Okay, and guys, this is one of the very important questions. So if you talk about the lookup relationship, it is one to many relationship, and master detail relationship is also one to many relationship. Okay, so in lookup relationship, it can create for one object and up to 40 relationships, and in master detail relationship, it can create for one object up to 2 relationships. Okay, and if you talk about the lookup relationship, here lookup is not a required field. Okay, and in master detail relationship, master is a required field. Here in lookup relationship, parent deleted child will not be deleted, and in master detail relationship, parent deleted child will be deleted. Okay. In lookup relationship, there is no support for roll-up summary fields. Okay. And in master detail relationship, we can create roll-up summary in parent object. And if you talk about the lookup relationship here, so lookup relationships are created in standard object and custom object. Okay. And master detail relationships are created only in custom objects. Okay. So these were some of the differences that you can mention if you are asked this question. What is the difference between lookup and master detail relationship? So let's just move on to the next question. What is hierarchy relationship? Okay, so a hierarchy relationship is a special lookup relationship which is available only for the user object. Okay, it lets user use a lookup field to associate one user with the other that does not directly or indirectly refer to itself. So to give you an example, what you can do is you can create a custom hierarchical relationship field to store the each user's direct manager. Okay, so the example that I just discussed, you can see on the screen. So this is the manager and these are the people who are working under this manager. Okay, so this is the hierarchical relationship. The next question is, what is external relationship? Okay, an external lookup relationship links a child, standard, custom, or external object to a parent external object. Okay, so when you create an external lookup relationship field, the standard external ID field on the parent external object is matched against the values of the child's external lookup relationship field. Okay, and external object field values come from an external data source. Okay, so this is the example that you can give as far as external relationship is concerned. Okay, so here you have external repositories and you can connect it to external data source where there are external objects. Okay, and this is in the Salesforce. Okay, so this is an example of external relationship. Okay, so the next question is, how can I create many to many relationships? Okay, so lookup and master detail relationships are one to many relationships. We can create many to many relationships with the help of junction object. Okay, so a junction object is a custom object with two master detail relationships. Okay, so I hope you guys are understanding whatever we are discussing here. Okay, so the next question is, what is self relationship? Okay, so self relationship is a lookup relationship to the same object. So to give you an example, let's take one object called merchandise. So here what we can do is we can create a relationship in between the account to account for the same object. Okay, so this is nothing but a self relationship. Okay, the next question is, how do you provide security for metadata files, which is nothing but schema? Okay, so the answer for this question is very simple. You can do it with the help of profiles and permission sets. Okay, so the next question is, what is a tab in Salesforce? Okay, so a tab is a user interface component to create and display custom object data. Okay, and there are 4 types of tabs in Salesforce. The first one is custom tab, then you have web tabs, then there is visual force tabs, and you also have lighting based tabs. Okay, so the next question is how to rename tabs. Okay, so tab name will be decided based on the plural label of the custom object, and to rename the tab you have to go to the corresponding object detail page and rename the plural label. Okay, as simple as that. So here I have attached the screenshot where you can see the details of renaming the tab. So for those guys who have hands-on experience with Salesforce, they'll be clearly able to answer such questions. Okay, so the next question is, what are the different types of login methods for salesforce.com? So there are different settings and login methods which are available for Salesforce users. Okay, so the first one is you can log in using the web browser, and for that the URL is login.salesforce.com. And you can also log in using an external API like the data loader. Okay, and then you can also log in using single sign-on or the SSO, and you can also log in using authentication. Okay, so these are the various types of login methods that are available for salesforce.com. Okay, so the next question is, what are standard profiles? Okay, so in Salesforce, there are various types of standard profiles such as read only, standard user, marketing user, contract manager, and the system admin. Okay, so let's just move on to the next question. What is the difference between a profile and a role? Okay, so a profile is a collection of settings and permissions, whereas a role is a record level security. Okay, so profile controls object level, field level, record type, page layout, and the login history. Whereas role controls the record level. If you talk about the profile, it is mandatory to the user. Okay, but as far as role is concerned, role is not mandatory for a user. You can have users wherein the roles are not defined for that particular user. Okay, so the next question is it possible to delete a user in Salesforce? Okay, so the answer is no. Once a user is created in Salesforce, we cannot delete the user. Okay, so we can only deactivate the user record, or we can freeze the user. Okay, so these are the only options that we have. We cannot delete a user in Salesforce. Okay, so the next question is how to give permissions to two fields for different users who belong to different profiles. Okay, and the answer to this question is very simple, using permission sets. Okay, so this was only a one-liner, or simple answer to this question. Okay, so the next question is, what is grant access using hierarchies? Okay, so the grant access using hierarchies option affects which users gain access to data when something is shared with the public groups, personal groups, queues, roles, or territories. Okay, so as you can see on screen, there's this column of grant access using hierarchies. So whichever fields you want, like you can check the boxes that you want as per your requirement. Okay, so the next question is, how can we change grant access using role hierarchy for standard objects? Okay, so the answer to this question is no. It is not possible to change the grant access using role hierarchy for standard objects. Okay, so this is something which doesn't exist in Salesforce, as simple as that. So the next question is, what is the difference between is blank and is null? Okay, so is null works only for number data type fields. So if we don't populate with the value for number fields, it will return true. Is null won't be supported for, obviously, text data types fields, because text data fields never become null. Okay, and is blank supports both number as well as text data fields. Okay, so this is the difference between is null and is blank. Okay, so the next question is, what is the difference between a 15-digit and an 18-digit record IDs in Salesforce? So so in Salesforce, whenever a user creates a record, it will automatically generate a unique record ID. Okay, so after creating the record in the URL, the users can see the ID of the record, which is 15-digit in length. Okay, in user interface, user always sees the 15-digit ID, which is case sensitive. If the user queries the existing records from the database through an API, it will always return the 18-digit ID, which is case insensitive. Okay, so last three digits of the 18-digit represent the checksum of the capitalization of 15-digit ID. And based on the first three digits of the record ID, users can identify the type of the object. Okay, and all the records which belong to the same object will contain the same first three digits of the record ID. Okay, so this was the primary difference between the 15-digit and 18-digit record IDs in Salesforce. Okay, so the next question is, what is a record type? So for an object based on record type, we can show different fields and different pick list values by assigning different page layouts for the record types and profiles. Okay, so after creating the record type, the user can see all the pick list data type fields, and users can also edit the pick list and decide which values should be displayed for this particular record type. Okay, so I hope I'm clear with this question. What is a record type? Okay, So the next question is, what is the difference between detail page and edit page? Okay, so whenever a user tries to create a new record or edit an existing record, user can input the values for the fields, and this page is nothing but the edit page. Okay, and if you talk about the detail page, so after creating a new record or editing an existing record, users can see the information of the record. Okay, and this page is nothing but the detail page. Okay, I hope the difference between the detail page and edit page is clear to you. Okay, so the next question is, what is out of the box functionality? So, out of the box functionality is nothing but the standard features which are provided by Salesforce. Okay, so this was a very simple and one-liner question. The next question is, what is validation rule? Okay, so while creating or modifying the record based on the certain conditions, we can display the error messages on the top of the page or below to the field. So this is nothing but the validation rule. Okay, so here I've attached a screenshot of validation rule. So as you can see here, we have mentioned the rule name, and then we have mentioned the rule criteria here. Okay, so say for example, birth year is greater than 1999. Okay, then you can also check the syntax for this rule criteria, or the condition that we have mentioned here. Okay, and then if at all you have some error message, it is displayed here. Okay, so this was about the validation rule. So the next question is, what are governor limits? So since we are working in multi-tenant environment, Salesforce is enforcing the limits for all the functionalities. Okay, so there are various restrictions that Salesforce provides for all the functionalities, such as how many number of fields are available for an object. So the answer for this is 800. Okay, so if you talk about the number of master detail relationships for an object, so there are only 2. Okay, so as we discussed earlier, number of lookup relationships for an objects are 40. Okay, and if you talk about the roll-up summary fields that are available, so the answer to this question is 25. Okay, so if you talk about how many external IDs that we can enable for an object, so the answer to this is 7. Okay, so governor limits will be only changed by Salesforce in the further releases of the software. Okay, so I hope you guys are clear with the governor limits. Okay, so let's just move on to the next question. For which data types we can enable the external IDs? Okay, so there are 4 data types where we can enable the external ID. The first one being text, then you have number, then you have auto number, and also there is email. Okay, so this was a very simple question. Okay, so let's just move on to the next question, which is, what is inline editing? Okay, so on the detail page, without clicking on the edit button, we can edit the fields if it is not read only. So this is nothing but the inline editing. Okay, so if you want to have a look at an example, here I have attached a screenshot. Okay, so the next question is how to provide security for the records, or you can also call them instances. Okay, so we can provide security for the records using roles. We can also use OWDs, which are nothing but organization-wide defaults. Okay, and then you also have sharing rules and manual sharing, and you can do it using Apex managed sharing. Okay, then you also have view all, modify all, view all data, and modify all data. So these are the various ways with which you can provide security for the records. Okay, so let's just move on to the next question. What is OWD? Okay, so guys, we also discussed this question like in the previous few slides, but we will cover it here in detail. Okay, so OWD, as discussed in the previous question, is organization-wide defaults. Okay, so OWD is the default access level on records for any object in Salesforce. Okay, so for custom objects, we can create various types of access levels. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, the first one is private. So only the owner and the user which are above in the hierarchy can have read or write access, and below hierarchy users do not have any access. So that is the whole meaning of private. Okay. And if you talk about public read only, so here only the owner and the users which are higher in the hierarchy can have read write access, and the below users in the hierarchy can have only read only access. Okay, so this is the meaning of public read only. And if you talk about public read write, so irrespective of the role hierarchy, everyone can have read write permissions on the records. Okay, so next you can also have, this public read write transfer access. Okay, so this is available only for case and lead objects. Okay, so if the OWD for an object is set to public read write transfer, okay, so the all users can view, edit, transfer and report on all the records, but only for the owner of the record can delete them. Okay, so only the owner of the records can delete them. Okay, and then you also have public full access. Okay, so this is available only for campaign object. So if the OWD for campaigns are set to public full access, then all users can view, edit, delete and report on all the records. Okay, so next you also have no access, view only or use. Okay, so this is available only for price book object. Okay, so if the OWD for the price book is set use, then all the users can access price book information, and they can also access the price book configuration for the opportunities that are available with the products. Okay, so if the OWD for the price book is set to view only, then all the users can access the price book information, but you cannot use that price book detail in opportunities with the products. Okay, and then comes the no access. So this means that users are restricted from accessing the information for price books and the prices. Okay, and the last OWD here is controlled by parent. Okay, so if the OWD for any object is set as controlled by parent, then the users can perform an action on the record based on whether they can do the same on the parent record which is associated with that particular object. Okay, so these were some of the the access levels that are associated with OWD. Okay, so let's just move on to the next question. Can we create a new profile without cloning an existing profile? Okay, so the answer to this question is no. Okay, so we have to clone any one of the existing profiles to create a new profile. Okay, so the next question is, what is the difference between a data loader and import wizard? Okay, so data loader is an ETL tool and it supports export and import of the data. Okay, whereas import wizard is an internal tool. It is used for importing the data into the Salesforce. Okay, so data loader supports all the standard objects and the custom objects as well. Okay, so import wizard supports account, contact, lead, solution and custom objects. Okay, so if you talk about the data loader, it can support up to 5 million of records. Okay, and import wizard can support only up to 50,000 of records. Okay, so in data loaders, duplicate values are allowed, whereas in import wizard, duplicate values are not allowed. Okay, so delete operation is available in data loader. Okay, whereas this delete operation, it is not available in import wizard. Okay, so these are some of the differences that you can mention when you are asked this question, difference between data loader and import wizard. And guys, believe me, this is a very important question as far as your Salesforce admin interview is concerned. Okay, so the next question is, data loader or import wizard supports which file format? Okay, so the answer to this question is very simple. It supports the CSV file format. CSV is nothing but the comma separated values. Okay, so the next question is, what is field mapping file format of the data loader? Okay, so the answer to this question is .sdl or Salesforce data loader is the extension of the file of the data loader. Okay, so how to insert the null values in the data loader? Okay, so in data loader settings, we should enable the insert null values checkbox Okay. Otherwise, we cannot insert null values in the data loaders. Okay. So guys, as you can see here, I have attached a screenshot. Okay. So in settings, you have to check this box, insert null values. Okay. So if you do not check this box, you cannot insert null values in the data loader. Okay. So let's just move on to the next question. Okay. So the next question is, what is the maximum batch size of data loader? Okay. So the maximum size of data loader is 10,000 and the minimum size is 1. Okay. So the range is 1 to 10,000. Okay. So the next question is, what is the default batch size of Apex data loader if we enable bulk API? Okay. So the answer to this question is very simple. If the bulk API is enabled, so the default batch size is 2000 records. Okay. So the next question is, how many ways we can made field is required? Okay. So the answer to this question is, there are 3 ways with which this can be done. The first one being while creation of field, second, validation rules, and third is the page layout level. Okay. So the next question is how to call JavaScript using static resource in Visual Force page. So the answer to this question is very simple. What you have to do is you have to add JavaScript file in static resource. Okay. So in the name field, you have to specify the file name and add the file from the local desktop and save it. Okay. So we can use that file in Visual Force page. Okay. So as you can see here, you have to mention your file name in this field, resource.filename. Okay. And if you have to navigate to it, so what you can do is you can click on setup, then develop, static resources, and new. Okay. So this can be done using these steps. Okay. So the next question is, in how many ways we can share a record? Okay. So there are 4 ways that you can use to share a record. The first one being owner-based sharing rules. Then you have criteria-based sharing rules. Then you have managed sharing rules. And then you also have Apex-based sharing rules. Okay. So if you talk about the owner-based sharing rules, so records which are owned by the users who have the given role and subordinate or public group and queue are shared with all the users who belong to the specific role or role and subordinate or public group. Okay. So here what you have is role hierarchy and OWD. Okay. So if you talk about the role hierarchy, if we add a user to a role, the user is above in the role hierarchy will have the read access. Okay. And if you talk about the OWD, so it defines the baseline setting for the organization. It defines the level of access to the user, and it defines the access with which a user can access the other users' records. So OWD, as discussed earlier, can be private, public read only, public read and write, and so on. And next, what you have is you also have manual sharing. So manual sharing is sharing a single record to a single user or a group of users. So we can see this button detail page of the record, and this is visible only when OWD setting is private. Okay. The next type is criteria-based sharing rules. So if we want to share a record based on conditions like share records to the group of users, so in this case, you can use criteria-based sharing rules. Next, you have Apex sharing. Okay. So share object is available for every object. Okay. So if you want to share the records using Apex, we have to create a record to the share objects. Okay. So these are the various types of ways with which you can share a record. Okay. So the next question is, what are Salesforce reports? Okay. So report is a set of records displayed in the form of rows and columns. So reports data can be filtered, grouped, and displayed graphically as a chart. Okay. So reports are stored in folder which controls who has the access to the user records. Okay. So this is nothing but the Salesforce reports. The next question is, what are the different report formats? Okay. So there are various types of report formats such as tabular reports, summary reports, matrix reports, and joint reports. Okay. What is a tabular report? So this question is an extension to the previous question. So where we discussed, 4 types of reports. Okay. So the question is, what is a tabular report? Okay. So it is the simplest and the fastest report formats. It displays the rows as records and fields that are listed as columns, just like a spreadsheet. Tabular reports supports sorting of the records. So you can sort your records if you're using this tabular report. Okay. So the next question is, what is a summary report? Okay. So this report allows the user to group rows of data, summarize the field value, which also supports sorting and displaying subtotals. And the next question is, what is a matrix report? So guys, as the name suggests, matrix is nothing but various rows and columns are present in a matrix. So similarly, in this report, records are summarized in a grid format. It allows the records to be grouped by both columns and rows. Okay. For your reference, I have also attached a screenshot here of the matrix report. And the next question is, what is a joined report? Okay. So in this type of report, a user can create multiple report blocks that provide different views of your data. So in this format of report, we can organize the data in the form of block. Okay. So for each report, you can add up to 5 blocks, and each block is defined as a sub report. Okay. So every sub block can have its own field, columns, sorting and filtering. Okay. So you can call it, like multiple sub reports are combined together to create a single report. So this is nothing but a joined report. So the next question is, what is conditional highlighting in Salesforce report? Okay. So conditional highlighting is a powerful mechanism to show the values in the reports within given limits. Okay. So using conditional highlighting, we can specify, different colors for different range of values in the reports. So just to give you an example, so you can see here we have this employee report. Okay. So and herein we are using the different colors for specifying different range of values, for different cities such as Chennai, Coimbatore, Vellore, and so on. So guys, in interviews, if you give a real-time examples, or you explain something by giving real-time examples, so that creates like it shows the confidence that you have. It shows the your wide range of knowledge that you have about a particular topic. Okay. So it's always good practice to give real-time examples while answering such questions. Okay. So let's just move on to the next question. What is a bucket field? Okay. So bucketing lets you quickly categorize your report records without having to create a formula or a custom field. Okay. So guys, as you can see here in this screenshot, here you have ticked the box called add bucket field. So the next question is, which field type does bucketing field support? Okay. So there are various fields that are supported by bucketing, such as pick list, number, and text. The next question is, what are the different dashboard components? So guys, as you can see on the screen, these are the various components of a dashboard. Okay. So here you have horizontal bar chart, you have vertical bar chart, then you have line chart as well, pie charts, donut charts, funnel charts, scatter charts are there. Then you have gauge, metric, table, visual, force pages. So these are the various components with the help of which you can create a dashboard. Okay. So dashboard is nothing, but a summary of the data that you have. Okay. So if you want to, like, if you have data and you want to answer various questions with respect to data, so that can be easily done once you create a dashboard. Okay. So dashboard is nothing, but the collection of information that you want to derive out of that data. So I just explained what is dashboard, okay, in the previous question. So let's once again have a look at this question. What is dashboard? So dashboard is a pictorial representation of the report, and we can add up to 20 reports in a single dashboard. Okay. So a dashboard is something, wherein we have multiple reports, and multiple reports, can have different information related to data. Okay. So suppose, multiple reports can answer multiple questions that are related to the data. Okay. And this can be easily achieved once you have all the reports in a dashboard. So the next question is it possible to schedule a dynamic dashboard in Salesforce? So the answer to this question is no. It is not possible to schedule a dynamic dashboard in Salesforce. Okay, so this concept of dynamic dashboard doesn't exist in Salesforce. As simple as that. Okay, so the next question is which type of report can be used for dashboard components? So here what you can do is you can use summary report and metric report for dashboard components. Okay, so this was again a very simple question. The next question is what is a workflow? So a workflow is something that works based on a certain criteria or the condition. Okay, and by using workflow we can automate the business process like email alerts, tasks, file updates, and so on. So just to give you an example here, as you can see, the question is when. Okay, when to create a record and when to edit a record. So the condition for that is, if a particular condition related to a record is fulfilled, then you can perform certain actions. Okay, and if the condition is not met, then you can also, here you can add your own set of actions, or you can say don't do anything, like no action is performed. Okay, so this can also be done. Okay, so this is nothing but a workflow. So the next question is what are the different kinds of evaluation criteria or the events? So as you can see on the screen, there are various kinds of evaluation criteria such as created and every time it's edited. And then you also have created and anytime it's edited to subsequently meet a certain criteria. Okay. The next question is in which object workflows are stored? So workflows are stored in the workflow object. Okay. So this was another simple question. So the next question is what is workflow and process builder action? Okay. So if you talk about the process builder, there are 8 actions such as create record, submit for approval, email alert, post to chatter, field update, apex, launch a wizard, and quick actions. And if you talk about the workflow, so there are 4 actions that are associated with workflow. The first one being new task create. Next, you have email sending. Then you have field update. And last, you have send outbound messages. Okay. So this was the difference between process builder and the workflow. Okay. The next question is what is immediate workflow action? Okay. So the action which will be performed immediately after the record criteria is met. So here, as you can see, when the record gets created or edited, there is a certain criteria for that. Okay. So if it is true, then immediately certain actions are performed. So as you can see here, if it is true, certain actions are performed, and if it is false, the records gets saved without executing any of the action. So in this diagram, when the condition is met, these are the actions that are executed. So this is nothing but immediate workflow action. Okay. So the next question is what is time dependent workflow action? So a time dependent workflow action is nothing but an action which will be performed in future based on any of the date field. Okay. So to create a time dependent workflow action, we should create one time trigger. So in time trigger, we can give either days or hours with the maximum value of 999, which we can select either before or after. Okay. So guys, in this screenshot, as you can see here, we have this section of add workflow action. So here you can add a new task, email alert, field update, new outbound message, or select an existing action. Okay. So time dependent workflow action, here we have mentioned 7 days before opportunity and the close date. Okay. So this field, you can edit it as per your requirements. Okay. And the maximum value here is 999. Okay. So the next question is for which event we can't create time dependent workflow actions? Okay. So the answer to this question is for created and every time edited to meet the certain criteria. Okay. For such events, we cannot create the time dependent workflow action. What are the types of email templates? Okay. So there are 4 types of email templates that are available. The first one being text. Next, you have HTML. After that, you have custom HTML. And you also have Visual Force. Okay. So guys, the last question of this session is, how can you monitor future actions of time-based workflow? Okay. So these are the steps that you can follow to monitor future actions of time-based workflow: setup, EDM, monitoring, and time-based. Okay. So these are the 4 simple steps that you can do to monitor the future actions of time-based workflows. Okay. So with this, we have come to the end of this session on Salesforce admin interview questions. I hope you guys have enjoyed this session. Okay. So if you have any queries related to this session, then you can write them in the comments box below, and we will resolve your queries as soon as possible. Okay. So thank you guys for being with us.